telling
we
niggas
don't
what
pay
to do,
reparations.
he owe money.
But Steve,
You know what I'm saying?
Here's what I'm telling you, though. Hold on a second. Here's what I'm telling you. If you're to go through the numbers, sir, do we agree? If I have no connection to slavery whatsoever, that I don't owe.
You, Steve,
Me.
You don't.
We agree.
Don't.
Okay.
You
So
don't.
do you realize that you could take all the white people in this country, and if you're going to add up everyone where you could actually trace the lineage to slave owners or had any involvement, you would end up with maybe 2 or 3%?
If you trace the percentage of the people who were involved in slavery and then you trace their lineage, it's going to be much larger than 2%. But again, it's about the state. If where the state benefited, so the state has to pay. It's not like what people are saying each individual has to pay. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you are like the great grandchild of a slave owner, but you're homeless, no one's going to expect you to pay. In fact, that would be dumb, because when are you going to pay? Even if we said we're forcing you to pay as a homeless person, where are you going to get it from?
2 or 3% of white people in this country.
There go them numbers.
You
There
can
go
guess
them
their
numbers.
entire
You
salary
throw out.
and
There
wouldn't
go
give you
them numbers.
reparations.
There go them.
Most of us have nothing.
Somebody did it.
Can I fairly-
Somebody did it.
Yeah,
And somebody
Africans
owed.
sold them into slavery.
Somebody owed.
It's still going on right now.
Somebody owed.
It's still going on right now, and it's feeding the companies in the West, because obviously you can tell the Western companies are benefiting the most from forced labor around the world. And then, of course, there is the Middle Eastern countries like the UAE, where they found tons of people who are basically modern slaves, and the state is ignoring it. But I don't know what that has to do with this reparations. It's like a very strange version of whataboutism. Like, what about those guys?
There are more slaves on earth right now than ever. Did you know that?
Steve, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. We're not going to go.
There's also more people on earth than ever, so numbers are inflated for everything. So anything that would have been a 1% is going to be large compared to the past. In fact, let's just do the numbers real quick. So 1% of 8 billion is 80 million. So if 1% of people now are slaves, because there's 8 billion people on earth, then that's 80 million people.
We're not going to really get to the heart of it. Let me ask you this. Are you aware of what's going on with McDonald's right now?
McDonald's, the company?
Yeah, McDonald's, the company.
I'm aware they can't get my fillet of fish right anytime I go.
Let me tell you what's really happening. I got a friend of mine who currently has 5 McDonald's locations, right? So there are many times he says, Cedric, sometimes I've got to get up at nighttime to go and check, even if the chiller goes out, right? So I said, man, why is that so? What's really happening? He said, Cedric, what happens is there are most black franchisees, right, that own these McDonald's. He said, we have to get them in the most low-performing areas, right? Never mind the fact that we make the same investment up front to purchase one of those McDonald's, right? So when you talk about that, let's look at the systemic and institutional biases that are involved just in that. You tell me I got to pay you $1 million to get a McDonald's, right? Same thing as my white counterpart. But yet, I'm relegated to take a McDonald's in an area that's probably highly impoverished. I've got to keep coming up with all kind of gimmicks to keep the foot traffic coming through the stores. Where nobody talks about that.
Well, what
So
about
as
the
you
flip
can see-
side of it?
What happens on the flip side?
What about the flip side of it? What about the fact that you have the government that has grants that they invest in black-owned businesses that don't happen for white people?
Let me ask you this, Steve. It's funny you.
Does that even it out?
But no. But here's something.
'Cause that exists.
Here's something you keep saying. You say that these grants exist for black people, but let me ask you. a
Okay,
question.
but my
How much
point
of
is
it actually
both sides of that coin, right?
Yeah,
That
okay.
exists for a
So we'll
reason.
go there.
Why?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit lost. I don't know how they went from slavery to McDonald's, but yeah, I guess now they're talking about McDonald's. That's the next topic.
What's the reason?
The reason is based on what he's saying. That's why it's an
Right,
appropriate
that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, if you use his example of the McDonald's,
Okay.
what would be the reason for relegating the black owners to the low
Well, first
income
off,
neighborhoods?
I don't know. I'm not able to verify that all that's factual.
But that's-
I know. Were you
I'm just
told you
saying,
could only open here in nice?
Huh?
Were you told you?
Yeah, so I don't understand also what he's saying about being forced to open in the specific locations. I can understand if you come from a certain location and you have to open in that area because you don't know anything about another area. But I don't think the American government forces you to open a shop anywhere. I mean, look at all the people who come from foreign countries and open businesses in dangerous neighborhoods. On the other side, though, the grant thing that black people get grants, a lot of those grants are extremely competitive, and only a few businesses get them.
You could only open here in a nice.
Well, this is Steve's shop, but no.
Okay. But my point is,
But see, you have
it's
to
not just
understand
McDonald's.
something. Before
My
you
point
answer
on the
that
flip
question,
side,
you have to
though,
understand something. There's a difference in McDonald's or what have you.
Yeah,
Because the way that
McDonald's
the way
has a
that
whole
hierarchical
different
structure
I
runs,
get it.
they will designate you certain areas or what have you that you will
Okay, so if he's talking specifically about McDonald's, I have no idea.
be awarded a location in. You just don't have the right to say, okay, I'm paying $1 million.
That's the
I
same
want
for
to start
everyone.
Plano. Huh?
That's the same for everyone. I know a guy. Well, he just died not too long ago. He had a bunch of which I don't know how they're still around. It's disgusting. But
Neither do I.
He had. That's awful. I have
Yes,
never
it
had a
is.
good meal at. But he had to be in
2
certain too because they had to displace his franchise investment. Right. That's part of it. Where he was like, this one place is killing me, but as long as I get this spot, when I average out the 4 spots, okay, I can turn a profit. So this isn't unique to the black community. What is unique is investments from the federal government and state government into black-owned businesses to rectify it that white people don't get. So it's not enough.
Complaining about the government giving people money for businesses is one of the silliest things in America, especially since some of the largest companies that don't even need the money. They get subsidies, they get grants, they get loans, they get all kinds of things. And when I say loan, I don't mean like a loan where you have to pay the money like more like a normal loan. Like I'm talking about a loan where you have to pay half or you have to pay 1/3 of what you borrowed. Like they get all kinds of things that are not you just working on your business yourself, and they love those things. They work to make sure, and then of course they get lower taxes because they make sure that the people who are voted in are going to keep their tax very low. So this is going to be a useless conversation, really.
So what would be enough?
Because of historical injustices that have been done to impede black businesses. So
it's not enough
the
now,
why
but what
you
would
have
be
to
enough?
ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would they pay that?
What's the number?
Oh, because conditions historically.
That's my point. What's the number, right? Public Department of Education, Great Society, Model Cities program, black businesses, Pell Grants, affirmative action, DEI. It's not enough. What's the number that's enough?
Once again, like
Mixed in a lot of things there that are stupid. Like you can't just mix in 10 different things that have nothing to do with each other. Department of Education will pay forever. And the reason for that is because like what, you don't want to educate your own citizens? Like what are you talking about? That doesn't even have anything to do with being black. It's just like if you have a population that's not educated in your place, they need to be highly targeted to get rid of that. Otherwise the entire country suffers because they're not just going to evaporate if they're not educated. Again, DEI is not just a number thing. That's another, just mixing things up. And then you realize government grants. Sure, government grants are a little bit different, but at the same time, like I said, with subsidies and stuff, these things don't just disappear. You don't just like, oh, we sent this much money for businesses. Now we will never send any more money. Believe it or not, a lot of businesses rely on the government. A lot of private businesses rely on the government, not for the majority of their money, but a little bit so that it can help them. That's why people who hate paying a lot of tax, businesses hate paying a lot of tax. It really helps.
just like we said about the civil rights movement, about the education and all that, you can do certain things in the name of doing the right thing, but you do it wrong. So
What's the number?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't personally have an answer to that
Hold on, one
question.
moment, just one second. Would you agree that if a young person who has no connection to slavery whatsoever, you probably need a number for them? Otherwise, they're probably going to be pissed.
They didn't need a.
I don't think a young person is going to be pissed if this guy in this shop is not going to be able to bring up a number immediately. I don't think anybody's going to be pissed, really. I think that, again, because he wants an answer to the question, which, if I was there, I'd be like, okay, 300 trillion. Like, to just throw out a silly number and see what's he gonna do once you put out the number out there.
Number for Ukraine.
Sure
They paid them same taxes. They didn't need a number for how much
You're
we were
talking
going to pay.
about reparations to a young person, right? In the name of sins of forefathers. My point is, what's the number? Because the number now is trillions of dollars. I get it. The government screws everything up, and I will agree on that. What's the number? You're sitting down right now with a 22-year-old white kid.
Give my daughter $15 million and we'll call it.
$15 million.
$15 million.
There you go. If you throw out a number, what's it going to do about it? Nothing. There's no, if you show a kid, nobody can talk about specific numbers until they first agree that, yes, we need to pay reparations. Then we can start talking numbers.
$1 million a piece. We'll call it square. That's for me and for them.
$50 million. Okay.
$15 million.
Look, since a lot of people don't care about their taxes, add an extra 2% to what you pay in taxes. How about that? 2%. That's a number.
2% for how long?
Let's see. How long it was?
So 2% only for white people who have a connection to slavery at their forefathers, right?
How long were we in slavery?
You'd end up with no money.
How about 2% for everybody until reparations is paid fully, not just for the people connected to slavery, so to speak?
200 and
You'd end up with zero money. You'd each end up with about $14.99.
You keep letting our people off the
but
hook,
that's what I'm
though.
saying.
The government
I'm talking about the government paying taxes. I'm not talking about just people who are responsible. Once again, I'm not responsible for anything happening in Ukraine, but I'm paying for it.
I agree.
So why should that rationale not transfer to this?
Because it's rationale.
It's not when the United States is the purpose the people who perpetrate.
Well, that's why I need to ask the number. Because if you're talking about more than $15 per black person, you're talking about trillions of dollars.
Right, but if we're
And trillions of dollars is in the right area. That's the type of numbers that you should be talking. That's why obviously you're freaking out, because if they were going to pay less than that, then you would probably not care.
going to be a part of the same
And
country,
2%
like
wouldn't
Lane
cover
said.
it.
We're going to all be a part and members of the same country. Well, we have to take on what comes with that. What comes with that is historically, every time like Chris said earlier, every time black people have achieved en masse, it's been torn down.
No.
And then you get to a point
Unless you're
where
talking about the riots,
Then you get to a point where you're like, I can mention.
This guy said no. This guy has no idea about his own history. He doesn't know that literally America has been racist for so long. Like, they literally would take things away from black people and give to white people all the way to about the 60s. They did that without care. And then they started doing it with care, but they still kept doing it. Up until today, they still do a lot of racist things. I mean, do people really think that the history of black people in America is just, they had a perfect time and then all of a sudden they just went bad at some point? They just decided, like, let's screw everything up. It's so obvious what happened. It's like they started off, let's just start with the whole America thing. They started off with slavery. Then they got into like low income because a lot of people didn't like them. And then they became isolated in their own country, with a few being kicked back to Africa. And then there was discrimination, isolation. Of course, we've had for a long time, since the 1800s, segregation. And then there's, I don't even want to mention the other one, brutality. Let me just put it that way. And then there's redlining, all these other things that exist. But it's not like they went from everybody loves them, and then all of a sudden now there's just pure hate for no reason.
There's several black communities that's under lakes. There's one that's under Central Park in New York. Like, there's plenty. But my point is, then you get to a point where you say, okay, we're going to do this in the interest of justice. But then redlining and all that stuff happens. And then the prison industrial complex, all of that stuff that happens that adds to the wrong of it, it gets mixed in.
I get
and
what you're saying.
Yeah, we tried, and you should just be happy with it.
Here's the problem. What you just said, it was the rhetoric and the reasoning behind catch and release, doing away with the three-strike policy. You point to New York. You got a black mayor and crime got worse.
That's not the logic for those things. That's a completely different topic. That's crime, which can be dealt with in various ways that don't necessarily target black people. Whereas a lot of those rules were built to target specifically black people. Which, by the way, there's so much that needs to change about the laws in America. I mean, especially around stuff like weed and stuff.
Because he's a criminal.
And because you got 30 million people
But
living
so
in
that white guy before him, he was grabbing,
Exactly.
grabbing every guinea intern.
And probably
Like
the white guy that put him in his spot.
Okay, so it's worse. In other words, it's worse, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the prison industrial complex. That's why that's why that guy was out 14 times.
But I'm saying
That's why George Floyd was
also
out
why
9 times.
that's
So
also
how do
why you have
and
less
now it's a
fathers.
12
That's
times murder
that's why you have less fathers in the home.
I'm gonna use this.
Redlining and the prison industrial complex is the two main caveats to less fathers in the home.
We've done the opposite
black
of the prison
communities.
industrial complex. Violent offenders are being released into society and committing crime in record numbers right
and
now.
nonviolent offenders are being held on petty charges.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. And there are some people who might be whatever you might call, like, whatever they commit certain crimes or they don't commit certain crimes, but they're public defenders and they can't afford real lawyers who are not going to be overwhelmed with too many cases. So they don't just look at your cases like, I'm going to spend a little time on this. And then, so this idea that like, the law is in favor of freeing black people. No, it's not. For the longest time, it's been targeting black people. And even when it was targeting them, they could only get so many people. And then they start realizing that a lot of the crime is being done by their own community. And so some of these laws are I mean, we pretend that some of these laws were removed to help black people, but some of them were snagging a lot of white people. And then they were like,
I've personally done the numbers on it.
How
I've looked at
did
the
that
numbers on
guy get out after 14 times? George Floyd 9 times. Do you realize
Right.
11 times arrested is the
then-
average murderer?
And you got people in there for weed charges that's
Nope,
in there for
it's not a thing. It's less than 0.5%
personally
of
knows.
federal
And
penitentiaries.
that's the thing. When you tell somebody
And
that
that's wrong, by
personal
the way.
knowledge don't matter because the stats matter more, I
Correct.
personally know this. I know somebody right now that's in jail for small shit, but I know somebody else that did some big shit and they out.
Small, define small. So he had a joint on him.
Selling weed.
He's in prison
No,
right now
not
because he had
not
a joint.
but a small amount.
One time he got caught.
who cares how many times? The point is, guy's a non-violent drug offender. And then there's people who are very violent, as you mentioned, who are allowed to walk the streets. But again, that's the law. Some of these people have mental illness. Some of these people maybe have great lawyers. Some of these people, they live in specific areas where you have to let them go and stuff like that. So it's not as simple as you try to paint it out to be. But if you're a violent offender and you get caught by the law, you're probably gonna stay in jail for a while. This idea that like they're just letting them free, that is not a thing. That's like a few people. And that's why I laugh sometimes when like people are like, "Oh yeah, this guy who did this thing on the train." That's like it's not typical. Let's be honest. That's not typical. If you're a violent offender, you're not running around free after 14 charges. No, 14 arrests.
Selling one time a small joint he was selling.
No, he
let's
wasn't.
talk about small things.
But
Let's
if you
talk
want
about it. What is it
to,
really?
that's what I'm saying. If you want to frame it
What
in
is
the
he?
one-time
It's not a
small joint,
do you know-
that's a
what
straw
is he
man
in
argument.
for?
I'm saying,
What is he in for?
I don't know how much he had, but it was.
And one time?
It wasn't. Yeah, it was one time.
He got caught one time
No,
selling
I don't
weed.
know. It wasn't his first time. No.
Okay, so he got caught multiple times.
Yeah.
And he was selling weed
But
illegally.
every time wasn't the same thing.
Do you know how many people die from lace weed?
I don't.
You know about the fentanyl problem in this country
Yeah, I
right
do
now?
know about fentanyl.
You know that most people aren't trying to get fentanyl, right?
But
Now, weed itself never killed
I'm
anybody.
about to say fentanyl ain't our thing.
No,
so-
no, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, do you realize why trafficking drugs is a problem? You said
Yeah, so the laced weed with fentanyl deaths, like that is a very common myth that is put out there. The reason why most people die who take fentanyl is because they're taking fentanyl. And obviously there's more drugs that are more dangerous that are done by specific types of people, but those people don't end up in prison as well. And obviously you can sort of understand why they wouldn't end up in prison, because what you're going to do with like some, drug addict in prison.
a little thing. Can I tell you that if I had a white friend who was caught trafficking drugs, and I don't think weed should be outlawed, by the way, it's bullshit. Just to be clear. But if I had a white friend who was arrested the umpteenth time for selling a brick of weed, I would go, yeah, that makes sense. We would expect it.
Not for weed.
Of course.
So, of course, in Africa as well, weed was illegal for the longest time. And you hear all these myths about weed that people make up, like, oh, it makes you do violent things. It makes you blah, blah, blah. It's laced. You're going to die tomorrow. All this other stuff. All of it is nonsense. Most of what they're saying is nonsense. Now, I get it. Like, I'm not saying go and smoke weed every day or whatever. I'm just saying that there's a huge myth about marijuana, and the reason for it is propaganda.
Selling weed, selling a giant brick of weed multiple times, yes.
And
those are choices.
And at the same time, I know people personally that like you got dudes out here like selling all kinds of other shit. I ain't gonna even put names on it, but you got dudes out.
You mean like the hospitals that caused like an opioid crisis in America? You mean those type of people?
They're selling all kinds of other shit, and they free. They've been arrested a couple times too, but they back out.
But at what point do we say, hey, you know what? Once you've been arrested for trafficking, for selling drugs, if you do it again, that's kind of on you.
Cocaine, man, we'll let
This guy's against any and every crime. He thinks everybody should be arrested for every crime. What does he mean? If you get caught for marijuana, you should be, that's kind of on you. It's not kind of on you. There's a lot of things that you should probably be allowed to sell. And you are allowed to sell.
We'll let you back out for cocaine. Oh, meth? Don't worry about it. Sit in the pen for a couple years.
You said a little thing. That's not a little thing.
Weed? Oh, no. 8 to 9 years, you done.
Okay, how about this?
If you spent 8 to 9 years for marijuana in prison, I think you deserve some kind of financial pay when you get out. There is no way anyone can justify anybody being in prison that long for marijuana.
Someone who goes out and commits multiple crimes and felonies, if we do doesn't get any reparations. Because the white kid who didn't break the law, who never had any slaves and his forefathers, shouldn't be paying for someone who's a serial offender. Could we do that math? Would that be fair?
No.
Nope? Okay.
Nope.
Absolutely.
To be honest, in a normal world, if you already were paying reparations, I could see how some people would agree that if you run around killing people, you probably shouldn't be given a huge amount of money. So, I mean, I could agree to that. Like, if you're running around being a mass violent offender, like, I can see how, we could hold that until you finish your sentence.
And the reason why, once again, because
I'm trying to find some common ground, because that white kid...
And I'm trying to tell you, you're trying to start the starting point right here when you're not factoring in what happened to get that kid in that low-income, impoverished environment that created the criminal that he ended up being.
Oh, my God. This is what we're doing. It's not crime, it's poverty. Then why do poor white people not commit violent crime at the same rate?
They do.
No, they don't.
It's just usually different.
Notice how he tries to slip in, why don't they commit crime at the same rate? He's not going to say why they don't try to commit crime, because they do. But then he says same rate, because of course you can never get the same rate. But as we already looked, white people commit crime about what you would expect if it was due to poverty. It's in the violent crime is mostly concentrated in the poor areas. And again, it has to do with like not having other options. Like, people who are rich are probably going to use the internet. They're probably going to use labor. They're going to break labor laws. They're going to break all kinds of things that are like that. Higher up stuff that get you money. But then if you're poorer, your options as a young man is to run out there and hit someone and take their stuff. But I don't know why these guys are putting themselves in a position where they have to defend crime. Crime is crime and crime is bad.
Types of crime.
No, they do not.
They do.
It's a fact, dude.
Y'all just shovel them all
They
in the
just
trailer
different
park.
types.
Act
Yeah,
like
they just
don't
different
exist.
types of
No,
crime. And then
we
they go
don't
off.
we don't shovel in the trailer
hills and
park.
live-
They stealth.
They go off in the hills and live amongst the rest of the toothless hillbillies, but they do.
About that. You don't hear it.
Yeah, they just don't.
We're talking about statistical realities.
There's no cameras over
Of the
there.
young white male, when the young white male is the real threat to America as it stands.
You know what? You're right. I agree. You're right about that. Because young white males are going to be the majority with guns, and if you keep telling them that they're fucking criminals and they should pay for people's bad decisions, you don't want to see them angry.
telling them
Because
that.
it never
this guy keeps putting it out there like it's a threat. Young white males, they're gonna be the majority. First of all, they're gonna be the minority in a few years. So it's not like it's the most terrifying thing we ever heard. And then secondly, it's not like white people are all in, a straight line, especially not today, where they're all like, oh, we're being oppressed or whatever. Like that's only like it's a handful of people who are like that. And let's be honest, I mean, America has never really cared about black issues as much as they care about any other issue. Even I'm gonna say the LGBT argument became overpowered at one point, dominating over the black issues and started resolving those ones before they resolved the black issues. So this idea that there's going to be really angry white kids at black people, no. But I want to remind you that we've dealt with, I mean, at least black Americans and South Africans have dealt with very angry white people before. It's not like that's some brand new stuff. I'm talking about so angry that they had to do something about us. And they weren't angry for a real reason. They're just angry. And this idea, he's putting it out there like it's like some fun idea, like white people angry at black people and they're gonna start going after black. It's like they've done that before. We've seen them do it before, but they're very different, the white people now, than the ones that were there then. And this, you're not scaring anybody, bro.
Been angry, and I'm telling you, I'm looking at young men, and they're way more angry than I ever was.
Well, if
and
they're
I
that
listen to
angry,
them.
why they could? Well, if
So
they're
they're
that
getting
angry,
their
why-
ass kicked.
Steve, if they're that angry, why are they only killing each other in their communities? When's the last time you? I mean, how many? Let's look at recently.
That's a good
The
question.
shootings
Why are
that
they
have
not killing
happened-
black people?
No, you know.
This guy's an expert at dodging the point. The guy made an excellent point. You said they're angry. Well, they've got guns. So why are they shooting each other? Why aren't they going out of their way to go shoot these black people? First of all, like why aren't they shooting black people? First of all, they are shooting black people at we saw there that it's not like a zero thing. We saw that the percentages are a little bit not as flat as you act like they are. But the reason why they're shooting their own people is because everybody does. People go after people in their community, which kind of, weird in America. It's not supposed to be segregated.
Young white
But
people
here's the
not.
point, because they're able to understand
the
that
ones that's pushing
these
for
are
the
not
Civil
the
War, they
problem.
want to.
They're not. Listen, they're able to understand that. You know what? Perhaps I've been looking at and I've been taught wrong. Maybe the problem lies with the person who I've been looking up to for all my guidance. Because listen,
I love how they're accepting what Steven Crowder is saying as like, yeah, white people are just taught to go and go after black people and end their lives. Like, no, that's something you're making up right now. You're trying to scare people because I mean, I don't know why you're making this up. I don't know why you think that's going to be a good look for white people, that in a few years they're going to start killing black people.
I mean, think about it. Even with the most, and let me tell you this, I'm going on record as saying this. I don't care who you are and what your political dissidence is. There's no justification for going out taking the life of someone. Just because you have a different opinion of mine doesn't mean I'm going to get angry enough to say I'm going to go out and shoot you, right? When you go, when everybody asks me, because I got people who ask me, man, what did you think about this incident with Charlie Kirk? I say, you know what? People are not going to want to talk about it. I say, but this here was really a situation where this kid, more than likely, wasn't angry because of what was happening in black America.
No, he wasn't. That wasn't.
He was angry because of the fact that Charlie Kirk had a different opinion about people who are homosexuals. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And that was the cause that I believe in my mind personally that.
I mean, that's the reason he gave, but there's a lot of people who disagree with Charlie Kirk and stuff like that, and they don't go in and shoot people. The real reason why he shot somebody is probably because he's got some problem mentally, and he would have found some other reason to go and do stuff like that. That is not a normal thing. Like, just think about it. If some guy, if I told you that I know someone personally who disagrees with, reparations, or disagrees with blah 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 blah, are you really gonna climb a roof and go shoot him? Like that's not like a normal person. Like that's some mentally ill stuff, like some proper brain problem stuff. And whatever political thing he throws on it, and a lot of these guys do, especially these people who operate on their own, whatever thing they throw on it, it's always due to like some true mental illness that, you know, even trauma.
Led him to say, you know what, this has got to be stopped because of the fact this guy is talking about someone who I love, okay? So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. That crime really probably could be looked at more as a crime of passion versus a political outcry for difference. You
No,
understand?
no, no,
That's
no.
definitely a
No, it's political assassination. But here's one thing we can all agree on, right? The guy who shot Charlie Kirk, okay, his roommate, his lover, was
Yeah.
a dude who was claiming he was transitioning to a
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
You're just fucking gay at that point,
You're just
right?
gay. Let's call it for what it is.
Right? Yeah.
you're just
Right?
gay.
Can we all agree on that?
That's
It's
what
like,
it
no,
is.
you're going. He's not even a chick yet.
My question,
So, of course, the reason why Steven Crowder wants to put it under political assassination is because it adds to the number of leftist political assassinations. Now, I'm not even gonna lie, like you can still put it under political assassination. It's not like that does anything. Like this idea of like, oh, the left does more. Stop all political assassinations. I don't care if the left does more of them. Then I'm not gonna be like, oh, they do. But the left does more of them, and that's good, or it does less, and that's good. I don't understand this part of the debate where people are not just like, how about we stop killing people for politics, no matter what opinion they lie on or whatever, because if you start telling people that if you really believe in something, it's okay to go and do what you, then there's a lot of people who have a lot of grievances out there, and they're gonna start making people drop like flies, and that's not what we want. That is not what we want. Not anywhere in the world.
My question is, like, out of that tragedy, why did the next day black communities have to get threats?
They did.
Yes, they did. Southern University.
You're talking-
I'm
hey,
personally
you're
tied
talking to the
Southern
wrong guy,
University.
pal.
No, I'm just asking.
I can tell you who
tied
got
to
the
Southern
threats.
University in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
I'm personally tied to that school.
No, you know who got the threats? Let me
Southern
explain.
University got one.
You're
the next
turning
day.
this into a race thing where I agreed that it's not. But let me tell you something. Every
This guy Steven Crowder isn't even listening. Guys try to tell him that black people started getting threats, and obviously every black person who saw it somehow, because somehow the word left is like a weird way of saying minority or black person, but somehow black people started being pulled into the Charlie Kirk thing way more than they needed to be. Now, of course, the Charlie Kirk thing from the point of view of black people is like, there's a reason why, even though I don't agree with it, there's a reason why there's a lot of black people who are celebrating, because the guy was attacking black people verbally. And of course, if you didn't do the thing yourself, then, you know, that's another thing. So acting like it didn't affect black people at all is silly when you know good. The only reason he's saying this, by the way, is because he's going to be like, oh, I suffered a little bit, therefore black people didn't suffer at all.
single vigil, every single memorial, where, by the way, both black and white conservatives tried to mourn peacefully their own, desecrated, attacked, assaults, even in war, they let you bury your dead. And that's because of radical LGBTQAI.
crazy people.
That's not a race thing
Crazy
at all, but
people
it's
are
the
crazy
same
people.
wing that's pushing reparations. So when you're linking arms with them,
But that's-
we need to hear you disown those people,
So
too.
here's the thing.
I mean, I disown anybody who tries to ruin a funeral or whatever. That's a very easy thing to do. Like, don't do stupid things like that. That's not going to make you, it's not even just about looking good. That's just not smart behavior. Also, you got too much time in your hands. If you're that involved, what do you do with your life where you can afford to go to things like that and ruin it for the people there?
There's a
those
large
two problems should not be tied together.
Hold on, let me finish.
Joy Reid
There's
does.
a large contingent of black America that does disown them. They don't speak for us.
Absolutely.
Now, on the right, there's the Jared Taylors and the all of these different people, these super Christian nationalist dudes. I don't see nobody on the right separating themselves from him.
Well,
they don't separate themselves from them. What they do is they interview them, and then they get millions of views because, of course, white people like to hear black bashing. They don't want to say it themselves, but they don't want to say it themselves on camera, but they love when somebody else does. And so they sit there watching. I mean, I forgot who that girl was that's on Pierce Morgan, who is now, I don't even want to say her name because I don't want people to go look her up, who now is obsessed with saying the N word on YouTube because YouTube has sort of changed a little bit to allowing people to be racist. Nick Fuentes is back, back doing interviews. There's a whole bunch. That Jared Taylor guy has been interviewed by hundreds of these Republican people. They love him, even though he's like a full-blown racist. When Richard Spencer was out here being really evil, they interviewed the hell out of him. They started talking to him. Now, to give credit, I remember watching a Sargon of Akkad video where Richard Spencer was like, "Oh, you're leaving me out to dry, Sargon." And the guy was like, "I'm not on your side." And I was like, "Okay, good. I don't know what happened because now Sargon of Akkad seems like he's on completely on the other side. But before he sort of was very against racism.
We don't need to because Richard Spencer and David Duke voted for Biden and Harris. Sorry, David
No,
Duke endorsed Jill Stein.
Richard Spencer, though.
What I'm saying is white
talking about
supremacists don't vote Republican.
Jared
They vote
Taylor,
Democrat.
Jared Taylor did, and he encouraged all of his people to.
Jared Taylor is not the, first off, he's not in charge of the KKK or anything like that. He's one who's
No.
talked about race and IQ.
The
And
American
I don't
Okay, so first of all, this is Jared Taylor, and you could tell that Steven Crowder got backed into a corner because he's like, "Oh, they voted for Democrats," and then when Jared Taylor got called out by this guy, because at least he knows a little bit of research a little bit of information when it comes to people like Jared Taylor, which is a real racist. But now he's going to be like, "Oh, he's just like slightly interested in IQ." No, he wasn't. He does debates where he's like obsessed with segregation, saying that Japan is a great nation because they're isolated from other people and they can continue to be themselves. And why is it okay for Japan to be a pure white area and then in America they can't do that? That's Jared Taylor's message. This trying to be like, "Oh, he just looks into IQ," that is not a thing. That is not a reality. He's trying to twist it because, like he said, the Republican Party defends racists. They go, "Oh no, he's not," and people go, "No, they don't. Republican Party does not defend racists." Okay, so find me these famous racists that have disappeared forever. They don't disappear. They just keep getting interviewed. The South African guy who was racist got interviewed by a whole bunch of Republicans. The guy who started Oranje, that racist area, somehow he gets like hundreds of interviews in America. Why?
know that he did vote for Donald Trump, but I
he's
do
got
know
a
that
lot of
actually
people, the Patriot Front and all of them dudes subscribe to that.
there's nothing that's conservative about white supremacy. That's why they don't vote conservative. They vote Democrat.
This guy is a straightforward liar. This guy is just a liar 100%. White supremacists. What do they like about Democrats? You tell me racists like their race policies? You think, because that's what they care about. You think they're like, "Oh, we're gonna vote." Also, remember when we had the surrounded with 10 racists versus one liberal? Not a one of those people said that they were Democrat or even on the left at all. Every single one of them said they were a Republican. Those people are literally called the far right. So the idea that they vote for Democrats is silly. But again, he wants to distance himself from the bad thing while doing the bad thing. I mean, half of the arguments he makes right now are things that would be made by far right activists.
They're socialists. But the issue here that we're talking about is, again, I agree with you on Charlie Kirk. It's not political. That's why I'm going, I don't think that you realize you pivoted it into a race issue and said black people were more at risk.
Well, you
no.
just asked why we didn't separate ourselves from the
No,
extremists.
I
and
said
I'm saying,
after.
why don't y'all separate yourselves from the extremists?
Well, of course we do.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you, they suck.
I haven't seen that. I personally haven't seen that.
We all do. It's never enough.
I pay attention.
By the way, I can provide many examples, but here is one example of somebody who is a open racist. He says by his own words that he's a racist. Now, to give credit to a few people, there's a few Republicans that were like, well, if you say you're a racist, we can defend you if you don't say it, but you say all the talking points. But if you say you're a racist, then we can't defend you. But Tucker Carlson, PBD, whatever, even the Timcast had him on with Kanye West. Somehow that's like awesome to have that interview with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West when they're saying racist stuff. But that's the thing. Now, to be fair, Kanye West left because Tim refused to agree with him on the Jewish thing. But on average, these people love hanging around these racist people, and then they get stupid amounts of views because people love watching them. And I don't mean to hate them. There are some people watching to hate, believe it or not. But a lot of people, they watch, and if you go through the comments, it's, yeah, finally, and all of that.
Attention to all that stuff.
We all do. Donald Trump did. He was still able to raise. He said, I'm not talking about white supremacists and neo-Nazis who are horrible and should be condemned totally. The media cut it out. Did you know that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you probably.
Well, we all saw it on TV in real time. I love how everything is always in, like, you know, looking backwards, retrospect. It's always like, oh, looking backwards. We were alive during the time when it happened. What happened is Donald Trump first said there were good people on both sides. And then later, because of backlash, he came back and said, I'm not speaking necessarily about the racist people, but there were some people who just came to protest, which is a much cleaner version of what he was saying. But in the beginning, he did not isolate the racists. He just said there were good people on both sides. But, you know, now the spin is, oh, if you pick up the video, you can see it. And then they pick the second one, and then they pretend it was the first thing that he ever said, which they do with everything, which is like, if you're going to defend him no matter what, just play the first one and say, I don't care that he did that. Which, by the way, people have even forgotten what was going on there, which was the white supremacists and people like Donald Trump, who are adjacent to that, they were trying to defend Robert E. Lee, another fine person on both sides who liked slavery and was an enemy to the United States, but somehow is seen as someone who should be looked at as, which you always ask yourself, like, okay, so what about what this person was something to be looked up to, and, you know, whatever.
We already said there were fine people on both sides, right?
I heard that clip.
Right
but
before
I knew
that,
it was, I knew
right
it was
before
some
that, he
other
goes,
stuff. I just didn't hear the whole
look,
thing.
I'm not saying white supremacists or neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally, but outside of that, you had on this monument argument, fine people on both sides.
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And you had people, and I'm
Okay, so he's playing this video. I'm not playing this video, but I'm going to play you a bit of the video so you can see a greater context. Notice how he's dressed and how he looks. So he's like, okay, this is the video where he condemns both of them on both sides. Okay, we'll see.
not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
So you saw that it said 15 August, and they're trying to pretend like that was the first time Donald Trump ever addressed it. And you can see in the very same video that minutes earlier, before he said there's fine people on both sides, he was being pressed on the issue.
You're putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this.
In other words, the media was already after him for saying both sides were violent before he got into this thing, and also him trying to pretend that the other side was well, equivalent. And that's why this person who is asking him, like, why are you saying this? This thing of like, oh yeah, he said it. No, he didn't. On the 14th, there's another video.
You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, sir, you said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group.
So him getting pushed by the media because of previous statements to say what he said, and he thought this was a much better look to say there's a very fine people on both sides and very angry people on both sides. And then of course later on they mentioned they had their hire who was killed. He then would come with a very prepared speech to say like, oh, we regret what happened to the person at Charlottesville after he got more backlash.
Excuse me. I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
So we all know that the media are not time travelers. So how is it that on the 15th of August, 2017, they knew that this guy had this opinion if this is the video they took it from? Well, it's because it's not the video they took it from. This is the video they took it from that happened on the 12th.
Great people. They're great people. But we're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
That was on the 12th. And yes, that's why the media was saying, how can you say that these people are the same like the other people? And he didn't say they were just violent. He said the bigotry, people didn't come with bigotry on the other side. And so even the violence, let's not even talk about it. But in terms of what happened there now on both sides is on many sides. And they take two videos that have nothing to do with each other directly, and then they try to like, oh no, this was the first video. You liars, it's on video, it's literally time-stamped, we know, and you can easily look it up. Go write Donald Trump speech Charlottesville 12th August 2017 and then go look at 15 August 2017. But this guy is lying for obvious reasons. And then of course after that Donald Trump got some prepared speeches where he names Heather, who died, and two other people who died there, and he condemns the white supremacists because yeah, he was not going to last for too long if he didn't.
Why do you think the media lied to you?
But if he said if that's true, then let me ask you a question.
It is true. I can show you the clip.
Well, why did he not sue those media networks like he said when the interview with Kamala Harris was edited?
He did.
The media did not lie, and again, this is what they do. They like take information that is truthful, and then they say the media lies. Yes, does the media sometimes exaggerate truths and things like that? Yes, I've seen them go with wacky narratives. But this is not one of the cases. This is when Donald Trump himself said some stupid stuff, and that's his problem.
And he won.
Well, why
He
was that
did and
not
he won.
publicized?
Why do you think? You think the news agencies want to publicize their losing?
That was going to be my
Again, he's just lying. Donald Trump did not. You know how easy it is to prove that what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump did not win a lawsuit against media companies saying that they mischaracterized him or something in the Charlottesville thing. He couldn't have won that. It just wouldn't have happened because there's proof, obviously, that they weren't doing anything. But this guy's gonna say anything in order to win. I don't know why he lies so much. Why does he lie so much? He must know that he's in the wrong for him to just lie.
next point is media does what it does on both sides.
No, the media is incredibly left.
That's the point.
If
That's
you
the
line up
problem
the
we always
media-
have is because when one person
Well, so there's a difference between the media and the news media. And the media in general is left. And of course, it's going to be left because in order to be in arts and stuff like that, you kind of have to be left. How are you going to be a super conservative artist? Like, that's weird. You're going to be restricted to what religious stuff the whole time. Like, even the people who are conservatives are on the left artistically, because of course they have to believe in stuff like freedom of speech, which is a very leftist point of view. I mean, I know now a lot of people on the left try to stamp it out. Now, here's another thing. Some people like to pretend that the news media is just 100% left, but the real reason why they're on the left is because, I mean, I hate to say it, it's like the side that is the truthful side. A lot of the right people or the conservative people, they have to lie like this guy does in order to keep it up. And so when the news media tells the truth about something and the truth happens to be left, quote unquote, what are they supposed to do?
says,
Yeah.
well, there's problems on your side too.
Sure.
You say, well, no, you dismiss those, and you say, we're just going to point to your problems.
Nope.
And that's
Name
the
me
problem
one
black folks
right-wing
have
source
with
of
white
media.
America is
Name me
pointing
one
to our
outside of
problems
Fox
without
News.
acknowledging y'all.
He says, name me one outside of Fox News, because Fox News is one of the biggest. And then, of course, there's the radio. I mean, this is a long time ago when the internet wasn't that big, but it was like the radios were dominated by right-wing people and all of that. And then when the internet came, you got Nick Fuentes, you got this guy, you've got Valuetainment, you've got so many people who are on the right, who are all over. Alex Jones was huge a long time ago. There's so many.
Name me one outside of Fox News. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC. Local. Name me one outside of Fox News that's conservative. You can't.
Breitbart.
That's not a mainstream outlet. Breitbart.
it's
Then we could go Salon. Then we could go
it's-
HuffPo.
yeah.
For years in this country, ABC, NBC, CBS. Now you go CNBC, MSNBC, CNN.
And once again, all of them
are
got their shit. All of them got their shit.
All of them are left.
I'm not going to pretend that they're not on the left, but there's a reason why they were on the left. It's not like, it wasn't just like an accident that a whole bunch of companies that were news companies, some of them that go back, for a very long time. It's not an accident that they were on the left. It's because the stuff that the people were saying on the right was kind of ridiculous, especially back then.
Yeah, all of them got their shit.
New York Times, Washington Post. Go through them.
All
Right?
of them got
Well, there's also the New York Post, and then there's so many others as well. But or News Nation. There's so many that you can pick from. But if you're gonna go to newspapers, that's where it gets a little bit different. It's obviously on TV they dominated the left, quote unquote, media. But there's a reason for it. It's not like again, it's not like they were just like, hey guys, let's just be left. It's not that. It's just the other side was saying stuff that if you're a news platform and you have any credibility, you can't be on that side.
have to agree on that. That's why you were lied to.
But that's the thing. People lose the ability to think critically, think for themselves, and they just lean whatever way the publication or the platform is telling them.
Right.
Now it's up to people that run these platforms and publications to be responsible with their words and how they're leading people. But you got one half of the country that's purely led to think that these people are bad, and then that's all it is. It's just
I think they're bad. I think people who cut out Donald Trump saying, not saying white supremacists and who should be condemned. I think the media that.
You know what? Let me expand on this, because there's a lot of people here who like to talk about this topic like it's a real thing. So let's expand on it, because some people are like, no, we do know that CNN and all of them lies. Okay, let's just, and I'm not defending CNN. So I just showed you an example of Donald Trump being shown in the real way, where he's on either side. There is that, and then he later came back and was challenged on it, and then he said on both sides. So he doubled down, but after being pushed, he sort of softened what he was saying, but he still came with the on both sides thing. And what do you want the media to do? Not play that? Not show that? Some people are like, oh, CNN got Donald Trump voted because they were showing him all day. They're a news platform. Their job is not to try to not get Donald Trump elected. Their job is to show you what's going on in the news. But when they got him, quote unquote, elected, people didn't go, oh, they're just a news platform. That's fine that happened. They go, no, CNN, why did you do that? Stop showing clips of Donald Trump. It's not that CNN is trying to get people elected or not. It's that people want them to act as an arm for the state. And then when they do, people go, why are you acting as an arm for the state? But, we're talking about serious business here. We're talking about like a serious news company that covers all kinds of crimes. I'm not going to lie. Fox News does cover a lot of crimes from around the world too. I've seen it. The big problem comes with the talking heads, not the news coverage. When they start talking and then the other side is completely on the left, the other side is completely on the right, and then they start talking nonsense the whole time, which again has to do with the 24-hour news cycle and blah, 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 which people say, oh, what a problem with 24-hour news cycle. And then the internet is a 24-hour news cycle. People just stay on Twitter all day watching the news, making themselves angry. Somehow CNN is at fault, and Fox News is at fault, but then you leave the internet to go watch news on social media where there's a million times more disinformation, where they take videos that have nothing to do with certain events and they put them in and you believe them. Let's be serious here now. Let's be serious. I want everybody to answer this question. Do you think CNN, and let's take CNN because the other one, but do you think CNN is more dishonest than stuff that's on Twitter and YouTube and stuff?
Out on January 6th, where he said, of course, make your voices heard peacefully, patriotically, but peaceful. You have to be peaceful.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And they cut that out.
I'm not even going to waste my time debunking this part. First of all, how they cut out a live stream? What are you talking about? Every news channel was live streaming this. How do they cut it out? What do you mean they cut it out? When they played it later, they played the parts where he was saying earlier that they should go do some stuff. But then, obviously, they're chopping out a whole bunch of stuff. But they played a live stream of him doing it, and you can literally go fetch it. I could find all kinds of videos with CNN on it saying this stuff, or any of the other companies that you rattled off. Now, I don't watch those companies, obviously, because I'm in a completely different country, but this whole like, oh, it's the media doing it, that's not a real thing.
I think that media is bad.
Statement when this is the same guy who says if you want your country, come down to D.C. and fight like hell or not.
He did in that same speech. He said, fight like hell peacefully, has to be done peacefully.
I'm not going to go through this again. If you want to watch people dismantle this argument that he said peacefully first, after when he started saying it, when he realized his plot was going to fail. You can go watch some other person. There's tons of people who break this down and show that that is not a truth.
You know who else would fight like hell? Kamala Harris.
But that's the biggest
Joy
option.
Reid.
How can you have a peaceful fight?
Reid.
Somebody says, you know what? I'm going
Joy Reid.
to tap you like
Oh,
that.
So of course, what he's saying now, he takes quotes of small things and then he blows them up. It's not Donald Trump said fight like hell, the sentence. It's the context that came before that. Just like when Elon Musk threw up the Nazi symbol. It wasn't just him throwing that up. If that was it, that would be like, oh, he just threw up the Nazi symbol. That's weird. Why would he do that? But then he goes and has meetings with some of the most racist people in the world. And you know that Piers Morgan has been defending a lot of these conservative guys, but even he couldn't get himself to defend someone he was very familiar with, which is Tommy Robinson, which Elon Musk pals around with. But, you know, he doesn't know the full story of this guy. Or does he? Actually, he does know the full story of this guy. He just likes it. Elon Musk likes playing the middle ground thing of like, oh, I'm not the guy saying it, but then he says it. And then he got uncomfortable for an interview with Don Lemon because he asked him about racism. The hell?
Becoming a Muslim. Muslims, as you know, have been ranting about you for the last few days and utterly betraying them because you've decided to associate yourself with Tommy Robinson, who is a far-right thug, who has been spewing utter horrible Islamophobic, anti-Muslim rhetoric all week, and yet you have not distanced yourself from him. So the Muslim community in the UK now view you as part of the enemy too.
Yeah, by the way, obviously the guy on the other side is Andrew Tate, and he's like a guy who pretends to be a Muslim while at the same time doing everything that Islam condemns, and then finding himself in a position where he has to pick between far-right grift and the Muslim grift, and they clash with one another, so he chooses his side. But I'm not going to play that because it's got nothing to do with him.
We're gonna act like fight like hell is an expression. Oh, come on, you're smarter than that. Fight like hell is an expression. Joy Reid uses it, Kamala Harris uses it, Biden uses it, Barack Obama used it. Every single one.
I use it, you use it, but we don't scare the population by telling them that they have to do specific things before saying that. Like, you're going to lose your country if you don't fight at this very moment. Go and fight like hell and make sure that certain things, I don't even want to get into the details of it. And then you have that very same group running around shouting blank Mike Pence. Like, where did they get that idea from? And then, of course, you have them breaking into the Capitol and all this other stupid stuff. Which, by the way, they in order to go against that, because the evidence is on video, they have to create like 1 million conspiracies, because apparently America is trying to destroy the right by using. Let's not even get into it.
Let me
Only
ask you a
attributed
question,
violence to
Steve.
Donald Trump. That's bullshit.
All of those platforms, networks that you and Travis just so eloquently exchanged.
Mine was not eloquent.
How many of those are ran by black people? None of them. We don't control shit. Once again, why?
Well, damn. That guy just dropped a nuclear bomb. That is crazy. They are not controlled by black people. I even forgot that point. There you go. There you have it.
We always get the blame for everything. We don't control nothing.
What percentage of commentators? What percentage of commentators are black?
I don't know. I don't watch mainstream.
It's
Not a lot. And also, that's different than who controls it. And of course, he says the thing that most people say, they don't watch mainstream news. Why? Of course, why would they? They've got the internet. People do watch it. They just don't watch it on TV. A lot of the time, people watch other people react to mainstream news or repeat it, but then you don't know that it came from mainstream news.
It's about 25. It's about 25%, despite being 12% of the population.
But they still working on a
Seems
platform that is not controlled or ran by black people.
So
Notice how this percentage, so they're 25%, even though they're 12% of the population. Notice how now it's a problem. Now it's like if they're doing, if they're working, literally working, now it's a problem again. I don't get this whole percentage thing that he's obsessed with. And then of course the guy says it's the platform is still not run by them, and he says, so what do you mean? So 70? You just said 75% of the people who are talking heads are not black. So they're overrun by people who are not like them. So it's not their platform. His point stands.
We don't discriminate.
So when you lay out
We're giving a
responsibility,
script.
you laying out
Is
responsibility.
Van Jones not
people
black?
that
Joy
read
Reid
the
not
news-
black?
He black.
Sonny Hostin not
He
black?
black, yes.
They're allowed to express.
Okay, so he said Joy Reid, and then he said Van Jones, and then he said Sonny Hostin. First of all, Sonny Hostin is on The View, and she was on Fox News before. So what are you talking about? Here's an image of her when she was on Fox News 16 years ago. She was not sitting there just working for CNN or whatever. She was a legal analyst or whatever. She was giving the legal opinions for a lot of these places, and she went to on media shows and whatever, like whatever, Steve Harvey or whatever, giving her opinions. And we can use the AI here to figure it out. So Sonny Hostin worked as a legal analyst for Fox News, where she appeared on the Is It Legal segment for the O'Reilly Factor. She was a regular legal commentator on the network for about a year before moving to CNN, and is now a co-host on ABC's The View. I don't get it. Clearly, even Fox thought she was qualified enough to do the thing.
Her opinion?
Is he on the Van Jones network? Is Van Jones
Joy
on the
Reid's
Van
numbers
Jones
were dog
network?
shit.
Now, there's a great question. Is Van Jones on the Van Jones network? He's never going to answer that type of question, because that would put him in a situation where he has to agree that the white bosses are the ones saying these things and pushing these things, not black people.
That's why she got fired.
Is
Just
he
like
on
Jimmy
the
Kimmel.
Van Jones network?
So
No,
now
he's
Jimmy
not.
Kimmel's numbers are bullshit, but nevertheless, though, you had a national outcry where ABC had to retract and bring him back. I mean,
I'm not saying I like or don't like Don Lemon, but there was no national outcry when he got fired. Obviously, the national outcry thing is whatever, but, you know, that's just an incident that happened. Again, still not too connected with black people.
Someone from the left also shot up an
Stuff
ABC
said.
affiliate.
Huh?
Someone from the left also shot up an ABC affiliate, so that was a big deal.
see again, Steve.
I'll react to this later because there's like 40 minutes left. So, yeah, I want him to answer that question that guy asked. Is Van Jones on the Van Jones network, or is he on CNN?